Fix It Tony here. So we have our Avalanche. Here's a 2007. Again, kind of a beater vehicle. This is my son's truck. Just use it for getting around. We just put a transmission in it. I actually had that done because I didn't have time to get it done. But one thing we knew about before we did that was the oil pan, which we already replaced. It had a leaky oil pan, but it also had a stripped out drain plug. So we had to actually replace the whole pan. We put some sway bar links on it. We actually did a spacer lift kit and did the proper way. We put the new control arms on the top here. So the next thing we had an issue with is when we're replacing transmission, we kind of already knew it. These motor mounts were shot. So of course, when they twist, bring it down to put the transmission in it, it ripped them the rest of the way. So we're going to go to handle that today. The other thing we're going to handle is a common problem with these, also with the Suburbans, the Tahoes, the Silverados, and Sierras, is this universal joint for the steering shaft. So you have this, and then you have another one on the top here, and they just make a ton of noise. They click and clack, and they're sloppy. We're going to go to replace those too. So what we're going to do is get started on these motor mounts. It's 3 15-millimeter bolts at the top. We're going to pull them out on both sides and get to work. All right, so I'm at the top of the engine here. Again, we're going to replace the intermediate shaft. So there's a universal joint here and here. We're going to remove this shaft right now because it just makes it easier to get to the motor mount since we're replacing it anyway. I'm up on the ladder. Just makes this a little bit easier to get to. We have 3 bolts. I already took one loose. So you have 1, 2, and then there's a third one back over here. It's a little harder to see, but we'll get those out and we'll go. So it's pretty easy. We took out the front cover with the 15 millimeters. There's 4 15 millimeters up here, and then an 11 millimeter here. And that is because they don't want you accidentally taking it off. That's why it's an oddball size. There's also Loctite on there, so you really should use an impact as a soft duty, and also disconnect the battery because you don't want to accidentally set off the airbags and the vibrations through it. And then it just honestly just slips right off. And then we'll take off the assembly on the top, which is a couple more 15 millimeters, and we have the space we need to get to the motor mounts. Okay, from the top we have a 15 millimeter here on the shaft, and we can just go ahead and remove that, and that'll come off fairly easy. And then once we're doing that, we can start working on that shaft, which we're not going to work on that quite yet because we're going to work on the motor mount first. So if you have, looseness in your steering and clanking, this is the whole reason why these boots tear. And what happens is water gets in there, and now this joint just has a ton of play in it. You can kind of see here, and I'll show you when I put the new one on how much play that does not have. Let's see if we can see that. It should not do that. So in any case, very, very common failure point. If your steering's sloppy and knocking and making noise, of course, check your tie rods, but more than likely your problem's going to be here. So anyway, now that we have this out of the way, we'll start working on that motor mount. Just a heads up, General Motors in all their wisdom decided to put Loctite on the upper motor mounts. Don't know why. So use a real impact when you're working on that. And we'll move to the bottom now. All right, we're at the bottom here. So we have 2 more 15 millimeters here and right over here, and then we're gonna have 2 more on top. So we're gonna go and get these 2 on the bottom out first. All right, so the easiest way I saw to get to these was just the 3/8 with the 15 millimeter and a universal joint on it, because it gets in there in that angle. Just because of the way it sits, you really can't get a 1/2 inch in there because you're gonna collide here with this mount. So easier to do it that way. And now we're gonna angle the engine a little bit. It's gonna be supported by the other mount and the transmission mount. So we're going to put a lift right here and just kind of twist the engine over, so give us some space here so we can get to these top bolts. All right, so this is the best angle to get to this one right here. The other one is really easy to get to. This one's a little more difficult. So using this angle, you can get right to it. And these 2 top ones aren't very tight. So we're going to loosen these up, and then we're going to put the support back here so we can wiggle this thing out of here. All right, so we just put this post mount here, and then what we're going to do is twist this, and what it's going to do is just bring the engine up, and it's going to clear this little peg right here, and then we can pull the mount out. All right, so once you get high enough, you can just wiggle it out of there. And as you can see here, this thing is completely broken. So we'll get the new one in there, reverse the taking it out, and then we'll get started on the other side. All right, so we got our parts from Rock Auto. I ended up going with this company. I never heard of them, but they offered a lifetime warranty. So the other ones only have a 12-month warranty, and they're the same price. They look pretty good. They come with the heat shields and everything. So, and they're both the same. So there's no right or left. Just go ahead and slap it on and good to go. So we're going to fit this back into place, reverse what we did, and then we'll show you how to do the passenger side. All right, so just take your time here. You got to work it in from the back to the front. It is a tight fit. You just want to make sure this dowel falls into the hole here. Once you have this all lined up, then you can go in and put your bolts in. into the bolt side, sort of the block, and then you can bring the engine back down and it'll sit. We don't have to do the top ones yet because we're going to do the passenger side, and then we'll come back and tighten these all up. All right, so got our bolts tightened up, we're good. And then I just started the bolts from the top. I didn't put them all the way in. I just don't want this thing shifting around again. We make sure that pig is in there, make sure the center before we start working on another side here. Well, I was under the impression that this side would be easier. It's not. 3/8 all the way down there, fish it down there, and get my light so you can see. So there's 3 of them down there. You can see it isn't very easy to get to, but it is possible. And you have to do it by hand because can't get a impact to get in the right angle, and you know, I don't want to break my extensions. So it's doable, but a little more difficult than the other side. All right, to make things easier, you do have to remove the starter. Not a big deal, just 2 13 millimeters, and then there's an 8 and a 13 millimeter nut for the connections, and then you'll have access up here. You can get 2 of the bolts from the top, but you're gonna have to get a wrench and get this last one because there's no way to angle your way in there. Maybe with a universal joint, but it's gonna be more work than it's worth. So we're gonna get up there, take care of that, then we can take care of these 4, jack the engine up on this side, and get this mount out of the way. Hopefully these transmission lines don't have to come out, but nothing will cease to amaze me at this point. All right, so fighting with this thing, took the wheel off. You do have access through here, and I don't know why I didn't even think of that, but this is the easiest way. Use a 1/2 inch, preferably one with an extendable like breaker bar, because again, this is full of Loctite. Thank you, General Motors. Anyway, we'll get this one out and start working on the bottom. So the top one, this is going to be your easiest way, kind of similar to the other side, kind of winding your way through. But again, you're going to have to remove that starter. There's no way around it. So anyway, this is this one, and the other one looks like it's going to be more difficult. So we'll figure out the trick to that one. All right, so this is another crazy one. You got to bend the heat shield out of the way and go in this angle and come down through here is the best way to get this one off. All right, so we finally got it out. This one isn't as bad as the other one. It's still split and torn, but wow, I would tell you, this is a sway bar has to come down. You got to take the dipstick out, take the whole wiring harness loose over here, and then just kind of weasel it by the transmission lines. I mean, technically you could remove all the transmission lines too. I was able to do it without it. You just might be very careful. There's a 10 millimeter bracket that goes right up, right here that you gotta take loose so you can pull it back and kind of weasel it out. And then now we get the fun part of weaseling it back in there. So this is definitely the harder side. You know, I could tell you this was easy, but it wasn't. You do have to fish it all the way back over there. Just kind of wiggling it back and forth. You need to bend the heat shield on the exhaust manifold. You need to bend that up. It'll give you what you need, and then bend the heat shield down on the mount. And what that allow you to do is squeeze it in there. Using a large pry bar, just kind of wiggling it back and forth till it goes in. Just careful, take your time, don't break anything. So in any case, it's in. We're gonna put the bolts in the top and start buttoning this thing up. All right, so we got them bolted in. We tightened everything back up, just reverse of everything you did. Put the starter back in, put the drain tube back in, tighten out the bolts. Don't forget to do the bolts on the other side. Right now we're going to work on the steering shaft. This is our new piece. Again, very easy. Just unbolt the old one, bolt the new one to it, and then reinstall the way it came out. All right, so I didn't video this part because it's really hard to see what I'm doing in there. But this is the intermediate shaft, and this is where you get some play in here, and then the steering is kind of funny. So you get that first one, that joint we replaced, and then you get this one. These are very easy to replace. It's just a 15 millimeter here where it connects. This is the connection here, and it slips back into the joint. That connection is right there. Just make sure you don't rotate the steering wheel at all, because you'll put the steering angle off, and unless you have a special diagnostic tool like I do, you won't be able to figure out where center is, and you're going to have a stability light that's not going to turn off, and a traction control light. So anyway, take that bolt off. This slips up and in, and then we go under the dash, and there's another 15 millimeter, and you'll see it right. Let's see if we can get it. You'll see it right up here. Oh, geez Louise. Hard, and how dark it is down here, and see if we can see it here. All right, so here, let me get another angle and turn the light on. All right, so here's a different angle. Let's see if we can see it in here. Oops, and now you can see it. So there's your bolt right there. So it's very easy. Just take that bolt off. Make sure you disconnect your battery cable so you don't set your airbag off in an accident. This bolt comes out. You slide this back, and then you pull the whole shaft out. And then you put the new shaft in, slide it back in, again, without rotating the steering wheel, because you will set off your stability and traction light if you do that. And if you do that on accident and you need to figure out center, this is what I recommend. It's called the Think Diag 2. They're like 150, 200 bucks. But this gives you all the scan tool operations where you can see, you can actually look at actuations for all the body control modules, everything. It's actually really, really neat. So in any case, we got this done, and now we'll move on to the next thing. Sorry for the wind in advance, but this is the last thing we need to do. There's 2 Phillips head screws. We're going to replace the brake light here, and then this whole thing just pops right out. We can remove the lenses. It's super easy. All right, so we have the Avalanche all back together. Just to recap, we did the intermediate shaft, we did the steering gear, universal joint. We went ahead and did both motor mounts in the front. The transmission was actually okay. Took it off, it looked perfect. So I'm gonna hold on to that one until we have a problem with that, so we don't, do work that's unnecessary. But I will tell you, big difference. Once you start the vehicle, there's no more rocking around, there's no more popping when the vehicle's stopping and going. It is a big difference. If your motor mounts are going out, just go ahead and get them done. It's not that hard. I mean, it's a little difficult. It's going to bite you a little bit, as you can see, but it's going to be worth it because you should only have to do them probably one more time before end of life. This particular truck has 188,000 miles on it. So please like, subscribe, and share. Looking to grow the channel, and look forward to seeing you at the next one. Have a great day, guys.